So I think we're going to get started here. I'll just say right off the bat, you might need to excuse me at some point. I have two dogs here and I'm single dog dadding it tonight. So they might be a little needy. But we'll roll with that. Just so that you guys know, we are recording this chat here tonight just so that we can keep it in the archive in case there's other people who have questions about how to play flag rugby. So I don't have a formal presentation for you tonight, but I'm happy to run through the flag rugby guidebook, through the rules, anything. But kind of right off the start, if somebody's got a question about the rules, about gameplay, tactics, anything about the actual game of flag rugby on the field, and you want to start off with a question, you can. Otherwise, I'll run through the guidebook. You can leave stuff in the chat or just interrupt me at any point. Kind of, it's up to you guys. Okay, not hearing anybody coming up with questions. So I'm going to share my screen here and I'll put up our flag rugby guidebook. Where did it go? Oh, I guess I can't have two PDFs open at the same time. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So again, please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have specific questions, but otherwise I will run through this for you guys and we can learn more about how to play flag rugby. So flag rugby, as you guys are probably aware, we're looking for fast-paced, exciting rugby, non-contact. The rules should be easy enough to learn and understand. It's a good way to introduce new people to rugby. And it's a great vehicle for skill development, even for players kind of who primarily play contact rugby. So really at a foundational level, we're looking for that safety and physical literacy component. We want to make, particularly in this COVID timeline, we want to make sure that everybody who comes into the facility, who plays the game, is leaving there in a safe manner as well. But like when we're talking about physical literacy, we're talking about running, passing, catching, evasive maneuvers, balance, all those things across the board. That's kind of what the game is structured around, is promoting those physical elements. The field itself, pretty simple, not nearly as many lines as contact rugby. Got a try-zone at each end and a halfway line. The facilities that we'll be using for the Saskatoon and Regina leagues are roughly this size. I believe the Regina one is 30 meters in width, and I think they have 55 meters in total length. And then they're about, I think they're about 35, closer to 60 on the Saskatoon line. The equipment that we'll use, again, very, very simple: ball, field markers, and your footwear. Footwear is going to be something that's important. The turf fields that are used in, I think, both facilities in Regina and Saskatoon, they don't allow metal studs. So when you're talking to your players and fellow teammates, whatever, soccer cleats, running shoes are sufficient for the kind of turf that we'll be playing on. Okay, first one up here is flag positioning. Simple thing: on your hips, over your shirt. Any other configuration of how you're wearing your flags is wrong, and the referee will penalize it if you're receiving the ball or trying to pull a flag with those flags in the wrong position. On the next slide here, we can see some ways not to do it. Wrapping it around your belt. tucking them into your pockets, putting your shirt over top so players can't get at the whole flag, wearing one in the front, one in the back. Yeah, none of those are correct ways to wear the flag. So we're going to be playing with 5 players per side. As you all are aware, the rosters that we're going with are 12 players on the roster. So that would be up to 7 substitutes per night, but only 5 on the field at a given time. Flag rugby is played with rolling substitutions, so you can sub on and off whenever you want. If you come off the field, you can go back on the field. Doesn't matter. In the flag rugby rules, it specifies that that you should be subbing on at halfway. That'll be able to happen in Saskatoon with the benches being near the halfway lines. In Regina, the benches are going to be in the end zones. So you'll actually just have to sub off at your own try zone. For those of you who play contact rugby, it's going to look like your 7 players on the bench all have yellow cards, but they don't. They're just subs. In terms of time, if I remember correctly, games in Regina will be 16 minutes, and the games in Saskatoon will either be 14 or 21, depending on your mini league. We're not going to be using halftime breaks, just based on the fact that we're running a kind of 16 minutes to fit in any time that you're not playing. During those 16 minutes, it takes away from your game time. So the faster that you get out onto the field, so first game's finished, second game's about to come out. The quicker you're going to start your game, and the more of that 14, 16, 21 minutes you're actually going to get to play. And then I guess one more note on the time is that the game ends at the end of time. The game doesn't end at the next time the ball goes out of play, the next knock on. And there will be a horn to signify that. So I could be 2 steps away from scoring a try. If that's time, that's time. So that does create some excitement at the end of games if it's a close game and players are last try. So again, fast, continuous, and fun is what we're going for. So now we'll kind of go into some of the technical details of flag rugby. These have kind of been more of the organizational details. Now we'll go into some of the actual, things that players do while on the field. So just like normal rugby, the objective is to take that ball and get it on the other side of the opponent's try line. In flag rugby, that's worth 1 point, unlike regular contact rugby where it's worth 5. There's no conversions, nothing. Try is worth 1 point, and then you get to go again. So the offense has 6 attempts to score a try per their possession. So if you think, which I'll run a downs-based game, that's what flag rugby is operating on. You have 6 downs or 6 attempts to score a try. If you're unsuccessful in scoring in those 6 attempts, then the ball is turned over to the opposing team at wherever that 6th flagpole happened. The referee is going to be keeping track of that for you guys. In terms of, so flagpole happens, they're going to yell 1, 2, 3, like depending on whichever number it is. And then, but if there's a turnover in open play, I knock it on and one of you picks it up, then the flag count will reset for your team now being the attacking team. In open play, run forward, pass backwards, basic rugby. Offensive players are going to attempt to score by evading the defenders or creating gaps between them. It's basically an evasion kind of rather than a tackle and burst the line kind of game. The defense is going to aim to stop the offense by taking away time and space. Again, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to chime in. Just going to check the comments just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Oh, excellent. Okay. So flag etiquette. So this is what will happen when a flag is pulled. If I'm the ball carrier, I'm going to go in, the defensive team pulls my flag. That defender is going to hold that flag up and shout flag and drop it immediately to That's a little bit different than rules that you might be familiar with for rookie rugby, minor rugby, where the etiquette is to hand the flag back to the attacker. That works wonderfully for minor age players. For senior players, they cheat. And I say that knowing full well that I am one of them. But senior players, they cheat. So the rule is pull the flag, hold it up, drop the flag. But that doesn't mean that the game is stopped. The player, so if I'm the one that's got my flag pulled, I am allowed to take up to 2 steps forward and make a pass before I need to come back to the spot that the flag was pulled. So I'm going to refer to that pass where my flag has been pulled, I've taken 1 or 2 steps. I'm going to refer to that as an offload here, just to make a differentiation between a free pass, which we'll talk about later, that happens when I come back to that mark of the flag. So I think I've got the steps here. I'm just trying to think where I'm at in the process. Yeah, so if I've got the ball, my flag has been pulled, if I can't make a pass within those 2 steps, I need to come back to where the flag was pulled and restart with a free pass. After I've made that free pass or the offload, I'm out of play until I pick my flag back up. So when it comes to flag pulls and that possession count, that flag count that we were talking about before, that the referee is going to call out, the referee is the final arbiter of that situation. They may decide that I was in a passing situation, I was making a pass and the ball left my hands before my flag was pulled, for instance. That's the referee's discretion as to whether that was a flag pull that's going to count for 1, or whether that was actually a pass and just a timing issue, right? As the defense, I'm not allowed to pull the flag of a player without the ball, but in that situation, that's just a timing where I've committed to pulling it and the ball's in the process of being passed. Just like in contact rugby, where you're taught to finish your tackle, provided that you're not 3 steps away when you start it. So restart and free pass. So free pass is what you would refer to in contact rugby as a tap. I couldn't find a good graphic on the internet, so that's me in my kitchen trying to illustrate what a kind of tap and pass is. So in this case, the ball's on the ground, I've nudged it forward with my foot, picked it up, and made a pass to my teammate. You can also hold it above your foot, drop it onto your foot, tap it back up, and pass it from there. In flag rugby, you can't tap and run. You have to pass that ball. That's kind of a common mistake that I see with people who are new to flag rugby, is they tap that ball and they want to run with it like they would in contact rugby, but they have to make a pass. Your referee might give you some discretion where you tap that, you make your tap, and maybe you take 1 step before the pass, but they're not going to let you take more steps that commit the defense to a certain course of action. They're not going to let you take 3 steps to your left to pull a defender out of the way and make a gap, right? So the intention is make your tap, whether it's on the ground or out of your hand, and pass that ball directly. Okay, so there's a few situations kind of where a free pass is going to happen. So to start the game or restart the game, so at center field, whether it's kickoff at the start or after a try has been scored, you're going to have a free pass at the center of the team that didn't score a try, or the team that won the rock, paper, scissors, is going to start the game with a free pass. The defense must be 5 meters back in those situations, and we'll cover offside a little bit later, because there are different offside situations. But when you're starting the game, whether it's at the beginning, everybody should be in position, but after a try, you can start as fast as you want, provided that the now defending team has 5 players on their own side of the field. So try's been scored on my team, I might go grab the ball, and then I don't need to wait for the other team to be ready. I just need to wait for all 5 of their players to be back on their side of the field. Another free pass scenario is out of bounds. So ball travels out of bounds, whether it's over the sidelines or whether it's out of the back. Team that didn't touch it last gets the ball, same as any other out of bounds scenario in rugby. You start with that free pass either on the sideline where it exited, or if it goes out of the back of the try scoring area, like over what we call the dead ball line, which is the back of the end zone, you get your free pass from where it was last touched by a player. In that situation, the defense needs to retreat 1 meter. The other scenario for a free pass is going to be an open play. Sorry, there's one that's missing here, but I'll do open play first. Open play, if you can't pass within those 2 steps that I mentioned before, you get your free pass from where the flag is pulled, and the defense should be 1 meter from where the flag is. The situation that's missing here is in the case of an infraction, what we might call a penalty. In flag rugby, penalties, knock-ons, forward passes, they all have the same reward for the non-offending team, which is a free pass. And in that case, the free pass happens at the point of the infraction, and the defense has to go back 5 meters. Again, we'll cover offside and the specifics around that rule on another slide coming up here. Okay, I'm just going to check chat again, just to make sure. Don't want to miss out on anybody's questions if I have any. Okay, so penalties and infringements. That was actually a good segue. So any penalty or infringement, the following sequence is going to occur. So possession goes to the non-offending team. The offending team must retreat 5 meters from the point of the infringement, and the non-offending team will restart play with a free pass. In any free pass situation, the ball is only deemed back in play once it leaves the hands of the passer. It's not when the tap is taken, it's when the ball leaves the hands. And that's to balance out the fact that the passer cannot run with the ball. So since they can't run with the ball and they have to pass, they have to be given the opportunity to pass. So I'll just run through a few specific penalties and infringements that we see in flag rugby. Knock on, when a player fumbles the ball forwards and can't regather it before it hits the ground. Forward pass, passing or throwing in a forward direction rather than backwards or sideways. Fending or guarding flags. This is another one that people, especially who have played contact rugby, have a hard time kind of catching up with right away. You're not allowed to swat somebody's hand away or block your flags with any part of your body or the ball. And I include the ball there because people, believe it or not, put the ball right in front of the flag that's about to be pulled and block defenders from pulling it. In the same vein, spinning and diving are not allowed. You can't do these things in order to prevent another player from pulling a flag, including while scoring a try. Your tries have to be scored on your feet. And kind of important note on both of them, I guess, for diving, if you fall over accidentally, that's not going to be a penalty or infringement. That will just result in play being stopped and taking a free pass from that point. So you trip over your own feet while you're 5 meters away from everybody else, your team's not going to lose the ball. You just won't score the try that you're about to score. With spinning, kind of similar situation. If you're 10 meters away from the nearest defender and you decide you want to do a pirouette, well, you're not preventing anyone from pulling your flag, so the referee should allow that to play on. It's only when that spinning motion, and spinning is defined as 180 degrees or more, only when that spinning motion actually prevents somebody from being able to grab the flag, or potentially prevents, I should say. Another one, this one's same as regular contact rugby. Players may not impede a player running without the ball, particularly for the purposes of preventing them from pulling the flag. So no football style blocking, no kind of running in front of the player with the ball if you're on their team. As I led with, flag rugby is non-contact sport. So any contact that's deemed to be not to be incidental or unavoidable will be penalized. There's kind of a few different things where contact might be unavoidable, where people are running quickly and trying to occupy the same space. I always use the example of an attacker running and a defender trying to cut them off on an angle. Those two players are running for the same point on the field. There could be incidental contact. As the referee will be looking for whether, in that case, likely to the defender, but we'll be looking to see if players are shaping their bodies and attempting to avoid making contact. But there's some situations in flag rugby where that contact is incidental or unavoidable. Another penalty and infringement is offside. So we'll have a full slide on the different offside scenarios in flag rugby, but that's when a defending player has not retreated the required amount before the next phase or advances before the ball is back in play. That's why we mentioned when the ball is considered to be back in play, i.e. when it's left the hands of the player making the pass, because that determines when you can start to advance from an onside position. And I think the last one we'll cover here is playing without flags. So as I mentioned when we were talking about flags and where you should be wearing them, you can't participate in play without having your two flags worn on your hips. That's whether you're an attacker or a defender. Generally speaking, I mean, you could run around for 5 minutes without having your flags on, but as soon as you go to pull somebody's flag or to catch the ball and you're only wearing one or you're wearing them in the wrong spot, the referee is going to call you for a penalty. Okay, so really big concept in flag rugby is the law of advantage. Anyone who's played contact rugby will be familiar with advantage, which is basically the concept that if the non-offending team, oh, my dog's trying to eat a sticky note, just 1 second. Let me pick that up. Okay, yeah, so advantage is if the non-offending team has actually gained an advantage, such as gaining or retaining possession of the ball, or has gained or retained territory, the referee is going to allow that play to continue. So on the next slide here, I'm going to just cover a few situations where advantage may or may not be played. So scenario 1, player on the defensive team is offside in open play and makes a tag, which is the third in that possession. The attacking team retains the ball. So instead of stopping play for the infringement, the referee would allow play to continue and reset the flag count for the attacking team to 0. So they might say something like, let's say the attacking team was wearing green and the defensive team was wearing red. They might say advantage green, offside, reset count, play on. That would be the cadence that they're going to be using for that specific type of scenario where the attacking team has an advantage and still has possession of the ball. In scenario 2 here, we have defensive team knocking on while attempting to intercept a pass, but the attacking team recovers the ball 10 meters back. So possession hasn't changed hands. The ball carrier's flag is pulled immediately. So I picked up that ball, somebody's pulled my flag before I've been able to move. In that case, the referee is going to award a free pass at the spot of the infringement because that knock on, while the attacking team has retained possession, has actually resulted in a loss of 10 meters in territory and an additional flagpole. So the non-offending team, which is the attacking team, has not gained any advantage. In scenario 3, attacking team knocks on, ball is recovered by the defensive team. The player who recovers the ball has time and space to pass or run. In this scenario, the referee is going to play advantage, where the non-infringing team that recovered the ball is going to become the attacking team. Similar to scenario 2, if that player who recovered the ball had their flag pulled immediately, that's likely going to be a no advantage situation because they've lost territory and they've lost a flag. But these are all just examples of how the how advantage can be used to keep the game flowing, because our goal is to, again, have fast, exciting rugby and to not be stopping it for kind of anything and everything just for the sake of it. Okay, so offside, I kind of prefaced this a little bit earlier. For those who don't know, offside line is going to be an imaginary line across the field through a specific mark, and we'll talk about what those are, that the defense must retreat behind in open play and at restarts. As we talked about in the penalties and infringement section, if you fail to retreat behind the offside line or advance past the offside line before play has been restarted, you are going to be considered offside. The exact location of the offside line in flag rugby varies on the specific game situation. Offside can occur in the following scenarios: when a flag has been pulled, when play is being restarted from an infringement, or the ball has traveled out of play. So in the slides here, you'll see different offside lines. So for one, restart after scoring or an infringement, you can see player restarting at center field and the defense is 5 meters back. That's where their offside line is. I'll just apologize now because the camera angles in these photos are a little bit skewed. That's why the lines are not actually parallel that I've drawn across here. But technically the offside line would be at the edge of that circle. That would be actually 5 meters. But I've just drawn the line right there just to illustrate how far back they are. Scenario 2, so if the ball's in touch or you've got a free pass because the player wasn't able to pass or wasn't able to offload within their 2 steps, that's going to be 1 meter past where the flag was pulled. So you can see it's kind of almost like an offside line in regular contact rugby where you've got a ruck situation going on over here, and then the defense is a step back from that. The third situation, and this is the kind of the most confusing one, so I understand if people have questions about this, is within open play when the flag has been pulled, but the player's taking their 2 steps, the attacking players taking their 2 steps in which they can make an offload. In this situation, the offside line is where the flag was pulled. So you can see in the photo, the flag is on the ground here, and the offside line is through that mark. So the defenders, in this case, the blue team, have to retreat past that mark of the flag, even if the attacking player has run beyond it. So this blue player in between the ball and the player attempting to receive the pass, they are in a legal position. They are allowed to be there. Short of knocking on while trying to intercept or making contact or pulling a flag too early, they are in a position where they are allowed to disrupt that pass because they are onside in this specific phase of play. And I'll just make a comment here on this, is that this offside line for the offload phase has kind of come about through trial and error, because for instance, in rookie rugby, the offside line in this would be at the yellow line. But we found through trial and error that advantaged the attacking team far too much, because all of these players would have been in an offside position, and this would be, if not an uncontested pass, there would be a penalty. And so that meant that basically, if an attacking player could get their 2 steps and their teammate was paying attention, that it would be a straightforward, easy line break. Conversely, we went to, there's no offside in that situation at all. And what ended up is that these other blue defenders would then just stay right within an arm's length of their opposite number, which then completely killed the offload game entirely, right? So this is a nice balance where teams can both attack with an offload and defend against one. Again, since this is one of the most complicating parts, does that make sense to everybody? I'm not hearing any or seeing any comments. Oh, where's my chat? There it is. Okay, yeah, not seeing anything. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. So kicking, there's no kicking in flag rugby. That's just the kind of simple rule. Don't kick it. Even if it's lying on the ground and you're trying to prevent an opposition player from getting it, don't kick it. So, and this last one, fair play, here is kind of a catch-all for a lot of different instances. So verbal abuse, physical abuse, poor sportsmanship, intentional offending, persistent reoffending, or any other offending deemed unnecessary by the referee. Those are all not allowed, and the referee has the power and ability and authority to send people from the playing area as necessary for that. And so if, for instance, somebody just flat out tackled somebody intentionally, that might be something where the referee is going to refer it to myself, and we're going to have a conversation about whether that player should be continuing in the league or have a suspension or something along those lines. But I will say, in the 5 years that the Gophers have run a league in Saskatoon, I only recall one player ever actually receiving a suspension for anything, and that's because they were a hothead, and they let that get the better of them. So I'll just run through some important referee signals that you're going to see. Again, if you are familiar with contact rugby, you're going to kind of going to know most of these. There are some amendments for flag rugby. Try, arm straight up, or no try with that kind of cross and uncross motion are the same. A free pass or an advantage is going to be signaled with an arm straight out to the side of the body. This would normally be called the scrum signal, but we don't have scrum, so it's free pass or advantage. And this is going to be, that will apply in any situation where a free pass would be awarded. So penalties and infringements, out of play, turnover, restart, all of those. Offside, which is going to be making a signal in front of your body like this, as if you're indicating the offside line or offense. Knock on is going to be a motion like this, but usually up above the head. My screen's just cut off, so I want you guys to be able to see it. Forward pass will just be a passing motion, kind of in a forward direction. Usually for a knock on or a forward pass, it's usually, if I'm signaling a knock on as a referee, I'd likely be signaling for the free pass with this hand and indicating the direction that the ball went when it was knocked forward. Or if I'm indicating a free pass, I'm going to indicate that in the direction that the ball went forward. Obstruction is a common one. Contact is just going to be kind of a pushing motion. Fending regarding the flag will be the referee making a motion at the side of their body, such as this, kind of like you're swatting a player's hand away. Spinning is going to be one of these. Diving will be an angle straight to the ground. You'll notice the last three are, fending, spinning, and diving are contact rugby referee signals, but they mean something different in contact rugby. So if you see them in flag rugby, these are the specific indications. And then playing without flags is going to be one or two hands on the hips, as if, why aren't your flags on your hips? So that brings me to the end of the guidebook. I'll open it back up to you guys for any questions or thoughts, anything that you don't feel was covered in that, or any other, anything else. It's I'm here for you guys. Oh, geez. Either I was very clear and presented that in a fantastic fashion, or you guys are all just being shy. Okay, so I see in the chat here, do we need to wear masks? So as of right now, the guidance from the province is that anyone who is not on the field of play will need to wear a mask. So, and that includes players on the bench. That includes in between your games. So if you're in a waiting area, so you played the first game, you're in the waiting area waiting for the third game, you need to be wearing masks. Basically, any time that you're not within the lines of the field, you need to be wearing a mask. When we get the go-ahead again, we don't know if that's going to be changed where everybody needs to be wearing a mask regardless of the situation. That's something that we're waiting on the guidance for. It has been shown, however, through some studies that the wearing a mask doesn't actually affect your ability to get oxygen into your body and into your muscles. And I say that with confidence because I participated in said study. So I've got the firsthand knowledge that the mask did not affect my biking. I just suck at it because I'm out of shape. So another question, do I have video of games from Saskatoon that can be shared with players who've never played before? I do have some video, but the video that I do have is from 2017. I can see about making some of that available, but as I referenced in the presentation, some of the rules have been adapted as we try to make the best product as possible. So when I talked about how the offside in an offload situation, I think at that point it was a different formulation. But yeah, I'll see about getting some of those posted up, likely on the Rugby YouTube channel, and then maybe embedding them on the website. But just with the caveat that that video might have been played out under slightly different rules, but the gist of it as a whole should be the same. I was hoping to use more videos in the guidebook, but unfortunately, when I tried to use those, it said you can't save this as a PDF. So I had to take the videos out and start using images, hence why you have photos from my kitchen of me trying to pretend to kick a ball and pick it up. Any other thoughts, questions? Cool. Well, I'm not seeing any other ones. Just a couple things before I close. So, as you guys hopefully are aware, the government has extended the suspension of sport. So our first game's not going to be until January 30th now, further regulations permitting. Again, the intention is as soon as the government says we can play, we're going to play. But right now, that's January 30th. Secondly, we will be hosting another session like this before January 30th. I just need to figure out when that's going to be. So if you have any teammates or anybody else who wants to learn more about how to play, just tell them to watch out for that. I'll make sure that that gets out through the team captains. Number 3, tomorrow night we are doing a ref training course. So kind of this plus, well, not plus, but a lot more technical of a look at the flag rugby rules through a referee perspective, some basics of refereeing, and that's specifically for the volunteers that your team needs to provide for the games. So, and that's each team has to provide one referee volunteer per week. So it can be the same individual, can be different ones, but we really need to get them trained. So we're going to have a referee training tomorrow night at 7. And then we will also be having one again before the 30th. And I need to figure out what that date is going to be as well. But we'll have at least 2 before the games start on the 30th. So if there's no other questions, thank you guys for attending. Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to getting going. I'm really excited about the fact that we are bringing flag rugby to Regina this year. I think it's a fantastic program to be running over the winter, particularly when you can actually do some social stuff around it in non-COVID times. But it really is a great program to get more people involved in the game, keep people active, and keep those skills at a top-notch level. So I'll let you guys go. Have a good night. And as always, please, please, please don't be afraid to reach out to me at rdo@saskrugby.com. Awesome. Have a good night, guys.